all that and Ruja, they have said, the other thing I saw that he's on the Sama, Jordan Drive, Mupo, Cheptra, Chunchum, don't hear Mupo, Internet something, Jumdela, Grand Jordan Drive, and Brad Devaji, Sama Kong, about it, that's how Jan so Mancha Hak or Jim did. Mupo telephone, the DJ again, Mupo and Brad did it, the lamb tell a lamb, and it, but you tell it to Rusi, they are to see on the thing, the Natana, Penadzochin and Danata, Jungi Sam and Mugelatine, Hundrola can do goes on take jury. I think Mugelat and Tawa, the Gomba, Pioba, the name driver say on the day, the name I saw a long Mulan Jogo. The name time there, but I saw Saint Yema, Zoka Jimby Lam de la Lamne, the name driver Sanjay Chuko, or Seje Luja, the Saint Ye, Seje Luja and Yalu Drop Sage, the name driver, the roots and the Jumdate, Mancho Wajil in some motor, we get the roots go, your teachers, Anthony Shadon Shiva, yes.
And now, so therefore, again, this motivation is so important. And motivation is really the turning point. Motivation is like just the key point. And therefore, this kind of igniting all the goodness thought and goodness intention always is so important, because that is not just important, itself is practice. That is heart of the practices, essence of the practices. And we're talking about the hundo, the beginning of preparations or the foundation practices. What said? In always teaching said, bring more joy, more appreciation, more kindness, compassion, thought for all the living beings, more bodhicitta thought. Also reflecting this all this kind of situation, circumstance, more preciousness, more kind of happy, more appreciate of these things. And at the same time, where we are, what we are, is also not just permanent, it stays. Kind of reflecting truly as it is, where things are, and kind of softening our grasping, clinging, because grasping, clinging is regimented, is diluted. It is not natural. And there's a hindrance, obstacles, in order to kind of like free that. Again, we have to use the same remedy, antidote, as like homeopathic things. That mind-created things, we have to use the mind's techniques. Love and kindness and compassion is the homeopathic, in a way, techniques to remove the ego and all this negative emotion, which is created by the mind itself. So therefore, all these teachings said how much important in the teaching at the foundation. And then also principle body of the practice, again, maintaining the same, that motivation, the mundo or the foundation practices, but then more kind of more strong, more kind of continually upkeeping that flame, that fire, and that is known as then the main part of the body practices. And then the result will be as we started the foundation, as we continue to maintain, when you discover that, is then the result in the achievement. Then all that, so therefore,
you chung chung jaglam driver chimbo, the nature that so Jim did the gone shadow nature, then it tell a Jordan driver, they send the nature car chimundi tower, and nine so ship japs in the Hijate Kari, Pena, Jimba Shimbo Karu town to the Gombo the Rock Songri, then Jimbe Lumpu Chamjidis, Jimba Tangdana, driver car songri, do it out the Lumpu Chimbo Moise, Lumpu Tadaji, and one Jimba Tangdana. All I saw Sutamji in song dinner, then Tapachina, the Ning are some Tory Latin may have Devachi, do it out of Toril Teniki and the Gitayori, Zobakan is Zozama, or Tenitorukan is Zgicheva, or something in so see Shivala Nepa, Sherab Chitani and Drevers Hanji, Company Topatiri, Arti Dobso Mageva, Maris Sena Kazi Sena, then Ma Ward Zeta, all Maris of Traka Mazona, the Ning and some of the Kieva Sabaso, Arti Dobso Sama, and Teruzini, Jotam Driver to read there, Tingubo Koran Nelodi, the Tinet and Truten Manchowati, the Shigoris.
And so therefore, I mean, these cause and conditions looks like so sometimes like insignificant, but however, the cause and condition is so important. Even the smallest things can bring the huge, big result, whether that is negative, whether that is positive. So therefore, being as practitioners, we're trying to really learn more kind of positive things and trying to also avoid even the smallest negative actions, and that is then good for us, good for the others, and good for our continued growth of the practice or the Dharma it is. And for those reasons in the Buddha's teaching said, for example, like 6 paramatas, when we do generous practices, of course generous practice is so important, so special, everybody knows that. But generous practice also brings more abundance of luxuries in the teaching says, when you do the generous practices. And then when we do the morality practice, ethic practices, it will bring more always joy, happiness. Happiness, and particularly in the future lives. For example, generous practice make more rich. And the morality practice more, we make us to take born in higher realms always. And the patient tolerance practices, it makes ourselves more, also in the future, it makes more beautiful, or in future lives, it makes physical very beautiful, the morality, the patient practices. And the joyful practices will make kind of very dominating in the future lives, in the teaching said. It will bring more dominating, more kind of powerful persons that. And then the concentration practice also will bring in future result as like very calm and peaceful, more kind of peaceful state of mind. And then wisdom will bring always wisdom, intelligence to our heart and mind, or the Buddhahood finally. And of course, all will finally bring the Buddhahood. So, or the achievement of the. So those are the teaching often said, and therefore we're trying to kind of like do as much as we can, do those 6 paramata practices, or even the smallest, the minimum kind of like goodness activity that if we do, and then we should also really happy in the joy each time when we're able to do kind of igniting that joy and appreciation, at the same time kind of like sit in a way, kind of like set forth that may I able to do this even more in the future kind of way, inspiring one's own self, moving continuing in the path in progress, and that is really known as the practicing the Dharma.
No, yeah, that Sanji Jumdi, though they Jabas, in Karma Shatam City, and Jay, really Tamji, really Mongo to Durundur Sinson, Tening more trade and Missing Home Sorrow Yeritata, so Teni connected, Tam Dordana, give a Chunchoji in Ateni, Chunchoji in Andi Cardo Pintos and Nimal also. Or then Magiva Chunchoji in our Dante Church, John Marisan, Mazin, Gede Chunchon, Landerte, Legium de Tasani, some Motongos, or Tetani Connect, Ting and so Chuket and Hingo Chedi, the root of the Dongyal, Tamash.
And therefore, always be thoughtful is very important. Thoughtful. And start with the small, minimum. We're not going to looking always the big, gigantic things immediately. But even this minimum, the smallest is the really foundation. From there, everything started. And therefore, kind of very thoughtful, do even the smallest good activity that adds up and that build up that. And we're not going to wait for big things. And big things that we can do, that's great. But do what we can do with joy, with appreciation. And those are always in the teaching said, which is very practical way. Gai Nanjia Balong Trugua Yes, Bam Sole, do what I